200. How are you? So this is the last lecture for this week of the 17th. It's the third content area that you're responsible for, and we had to compress this particular week so that we could fit it into 6 weeks. And I'm going to say that arguably this is probably the most important and relevant one to you guys right now, because what we're going to be talking about is financial planning and investing, okay? And so we're going to go right into what we're doing here. All right, and we're going to scroll down and find that lecture, which is at the very end. All right, so here it is, retirement planning, Social Security, and the different types of investment strategies. All right, so we're going to get in here. So what I have done, Julie and I have done, sorry, I can't take all the credit, is to sift through many articles and explain to you the most salient features of what you need to know to ensure that you yourself have a secure financial future in your retirement. But also, it's really important that you oversee your parents and maybe even your grandparents' well-being, but especially your parents' well-being and how they are set up for their financing after retirement, or even if they are retired right now. It's a great time to sit down and find out what's going on. Okay, alrighty. Are you a durable power of attorney fiduciary? We're going to go over that next week. Are you listed as a beneficiary in their accounts? This is so important to get this done ahead of time. Okay. This does also piggyback on right here at the final paper. So a lot of these financial issues, you're sitting down and interviewing your parent or grandparent, will give you really good insight into what to write about in terms of financial planning and what it means to them in their retirement. Okay, so and do me a favor, when you interview your parent or grandparent, it's important, if you can, to take out your Droid, your iPhone, and videotape the whole thing, because this is a bit of family culture that you'll be able to then pass on to your children and your grandchildren, which is awesome in today's day and age, that we have the technology, right here in our hands to do an amazing archiving of what's going on. Okay, so I go through everything you need to know right here initially. Okay, it's reiterated. Okay, so some kind of crazy, I repeat this over and over again, kind of shock and awe though. When we look at, we'll line up all the Americans. Okay, so all 370 million Americans. We get right there in the middle of the pack with the least to the most investments demonstrated by all the people, and the middle man and woman, the median, at this age right here, only have $17,000 in their retirement account. Okay, now that's not all their assets. So we reviewed on the previous lecture that there are other forms of assets. Okay, we have, for example, the value of the home. Okay, the equity that can be used. Okay, people will pull out the equity and what's called a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, and use that to spend. Okay, another strategy, if you have a lot of value in your home, it's called a reverse mortgage. Okay, and so the equity is played out, and eventually the bank will then take over ownership of your house. Okay, not a great deal if you, as a child, were planning to inherit the value of that house. Okay, it's better if your parents have invested their money while working into retirement accounts, and hopefully they've done more than this. Okay, alrighty. So, and it also talks about, as we did last time, I'm talking about it here, I'm just paraphrasing, that Social Security is hardly adequate, okay? Especially when you look at the out-of-pocket expenses that you can kind of pretty much expect to pay for healthcare that is not covered by Medicare health insurance, okay? So these are really important factors to think about in terms of the culture of our economy, your individual economic well-being, okay? So we're going to talk then about different types of plans, okay? So tax deferred is what we refer to here, meaning that I'll take that money out of my paycheck and I invest it into a 401k I'm working for a private corporation like USC. You can do the same thing here if you work for a public institution. That's what this is, okay? And so it reduces my taxable income, okay? So if I'm making, say, $200,000 a year, okay, I can put $40,000 into this account annually, and then every year when it's time for me to pay the IRS for my taxes for that year, I only pay the taxes on $160,000, not the full 200, okay? Because I put 40 into this retirement account, okay? Alrighty, I eventually will pay taxes on that 40, but it all depends when I'm retired and I'm in my 70s or 80s. It all depends on what I spend that year, okay? And we saw from the previous chapter, as we get older, our tendency is not to spend as much money, okay? So it puts me, when I'm retired then, in a much lower tax bracket, all right? So it's a much better deal. It's a much better deal. Plus, when I die, my children are my beneficiaries, which means I've written into my accounts that they will receive my benefit, okay, as part of their inheritance. And the tax basis on inheritance, again, is really, really low, okay? Only when you exceed a certain number does the tax basis step up, which I can guarantee you that's not going to happen with my kids. Okay, all righty. So these are all different important things, okay? Right now, okay, we'll talk about it with you. You can start putting your money away, okay, in a Roth IRA account, okay, all right? So these are company-based programs. You yourself can do what's called an individual retirement account and still have the same tax protection that I have with my 401k accounts, okay? And when you're younger, then you can put it's a good idea to do a Roth IRA, because what it is, you pay taxes right now on that money. Now, why is that better? Okay, how much money are you making a year at age 24 years of age or age 25 years of age? For the most part, your annual income is not going to be that great. Maybe 50 grand a year if you're lucky. Okay, so you're in a much lower tax bracket. Okay, so when you invest that money, very little taxes are taken out, and then the concept, okay, you're not going to touch this money now, even though you invested it when you're 25. The concept is when you now go back and start retrieving those funds when you're 75 or 80, you don't pay any taxes on it because you already did it at that low tax bracket basis when you were age 25. Okay? All right. This is all stuff that you should know. Many of you are going to become an investment counselor, investment strategist, okay? I don't have one, okay, because I figured this out on my own, and it's really pretty easy once you get figured out to have your own Vanguard account or your own Fidelity account, and the key is when I do it on my own, my fees are maybe 1/5 or maybe 1/10 of what I would have to pay an investment counselor or a money manager, okay? All righty. All right, the second concept, okay, is Social Security, okay? Now, Social Security is a safety umbrella for the less fortunate, all right? You don't get a whole lot of money, all right? So you can see this right here, okay? If I have paid into the system for 35 years, okay, and I decide to retire at the official government-based retirement age of 66.7 years of age, I will get $34,000 a year. Southern California, that's not going to work, okay? But for some people, that would be, sort of adequate, okay? Alrighty. If you tap into this earlier, then there is a penalty, okay? And we're going to talk about this later, okay? And it's all based on how early you tap into it. You know? The earliest you can tap into it is at 62 years of age, okay? All right. When you do it at 62 years of age, you actually have a benefit that is reduced by 30%. Now, there is an incentive. The government puts it into the system to retire later. And you know, every month after 66.7 years of age that you retire, they kick it up a little till you get to the maximum of 7 years of age, okay, which is 30% above, okay. All right, which means I would go from making 34 grand a year to almost $45,000 a year if I delay it. Okay, I'm not going to get any money between 62 and 67. I mean, between 67 and 70, sorry. But when I start tapping into it at 70, I get a lot more. Okay, all right, and this is great if you figure you're going to keep working like I do. Okay, my goal is 72. Right, so that's where I'm at. All right, that's the background behind all this. Okay, so you can go in here. This is a kind of a fun exercise. Maybe show your parents. Okay, and you can look at kind of planning. Okay, in terms of retirement strategy. This is the Social Security website. I'm just going to get out of there. Okay, we can go over here. Okay. And do, again, analysis of early versus late retirement, okay? So it talks about everything that I talked about. It's laid out right here, okay? So it shows you that I have done my due diligence, okay? And I've retrieved the information that I talked about already from there. And this reiterates how it is done. It's basic math. There's a calculator, and this explains the calculation based on every single month that you either retire early or retire late, okay? And how your benefit is either reduced or your benefit is increased, all right? Okay, awesome, all righty. So then we get into this concept of retirement accounts, and I kind of, again, paraphrase everything that you get from these readings, okay? The most important thing you can do is do your best to maximize your benefit, okay? And I have a table that I put together down below. The cutoff is at 50 years of age. So if I'm under 50 years of age, okay, the maximum contribution is $18,500, okay? My own personal, that doesn't include my matching from my company. That's just my money. And then if I'm over 50 years of age, you see that the government allows me to put more in, okay? And this $6,000 bump is called a catch-up contribution, you know? And as long as you can afford to do it, it's not a bad thing to do, okay? All righty. This goes over right here if we look at my employer's matching fund. So yes, USC does match what I put in 5% of my salary, USC will match that 2 to 1, okay? So in total, between mine and the matching funds, we see that under 50, the maximum is $55,000 a year, and again, over 50 is $61,000. Again, this is that catch up, okay? All righty, very cool. And the rules, they change based on the retirement tool that you're using, okay? So 401k is by far the best way. It's protected legally. Low fees, everything is awesome, okay? All righty. This talks about IRAs in here. I'm not going to open these for you, but you can find that information. This right here, you really should read. Reasons why you should never get convinced to take your 401k and roll into an IRA, okay? There's exorbitant fees, there's less protection, there's less information. It's just not a great idea. Okay, so read up on that. So what I did is I put down this little table again that summarizes what you can do, and you see again the advantage of a 401k, which is a company-based retirement plan, versus something you do on your own, is you can invest a lot more, okay, and still have the benefit be tax deferred for your retirement, which is your goal. Okay, so these are all the sources. This is just a screenshot. And if you click right here, it takes you to the Excel spreadsheet that I produced. Okay. All right. So it's going to come up here in a sec. My wheels spin. Actually, it's a PowerPoint that's originated with an Excel. And okay, everybody be patient like me, and it's coming up, I promise. I'm just going to stare at my PowerPoint. Something's going on here. It's coming up, I promise you, at some point. But anyways, okay, well, I'm just going to get out of here and come down here, and we'll get back to that. Okay. These are the most common strategies. There's another thing called an annuity. Annuities get really bad names because they have high fees and they have lots of problems. Okay. Okay, what is this? No, I don't want to update. Okay. Well, there it is. Yay. Okay, that's my PowerPoint. So they wanted me to, unfortunately, Windows wants me to update this thing. I'm not going to do it. All right. So anyways, so this is the cheat sheet. Okay. And for some reason, probably they want me to update because it's not working. Okay. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Man, my PowerPoint's all messed up. Okay, I'm going to get out of here for right now. So I wanted to go over this right here. Okay, the annuities. Okay, so this is a really cool article about annuities. What it is you make a contract with an insurance company. They take your money and they go invest it elsewhere. Okay, you no longer have control of your money. So that's a problem one. Okay, the other part of this strategy, okay, of annuities is they're really, really high fees. Okay, and all annuities, the problem with it is they used to take your money, and when you died, you didn't get the remaining balance. Okay, that has changed a bit. It just depends. Why would you do an annuity? Okay, what it is they guarantee you monthly income. Okay, so it's kind of like if you're a stock market bro and you're into selling stocks and brokerage, this concept is of futures. Okay, so depending on whether or not the market's doing a roller coaster, you're always going to get the same monthly income. Okay, but there are fees. It's not a great thing for you if your parents are passing it along their assets to from them to you. Okay, all right. So this is a really great article right here from the New York Times. So I have both the PDF file and the actual link to the New York Times article. Okay, and it talks about what happened to this woman when she didn't watch what was going on with her parents, and the money manager, financial planner, was not a fiduciary. Okay, and basically they stole tons of money. Okay, based on fees and really bad investments. All right, so that's something to consider as well. All right, lastly, we come down here to the discussion. I mean, you really should read this article. It will scare the poop out of you and make you really get more involved in your own investing and your parents' investing. All right, so this is where I got those numbers from. Okay, so this is from the original article, which is down here if you want more access to it. Published in 2016. And they were looking at how much money people have saved, and this is following the crash. And we see that looking at all the different age of workers, again, this is not your house. This is just amount of just like an IRA or a 401k, how much money people have saved. And you see this dark green here is 50, 60, 61, and that's just scary. So we want you to consider all this. What incentives could be done to make it better to save, and think about, millennials, and now even you, the post-millennials, and, discuss that in your discussion, okay? All righty. So this is my PowerPoint, okay, right here, and, okay, I'm going to get out of there. I'm going to move my head here. These are all links right here that you can access if you wish, okay? There we go, okay. But what I wanted to show is, again, if you are less than 50 years of age, there's your personal investment. Doesn't include the matching. You see how much less you are able to do if you have a non-company-based individual retirement account. This is for you youngsters. Remember the Roth IRA? So you're doing this in your 20s. Again, you are limited. There is a catch-up, okay, for company-based. You see right here. and you see not much of a catch up in the IRA or the Roth IRA. So the 401k is much better positioned in that way. Sorry about the way my PowerPoint was lagging. My computer's going to suck out right now. All right, so when we look at what you're going to invest in with your IRA or your 401k or your Roth IRA, the simplest way is to look at these bundled stocks. You'll hear them referred to as equities, okay? And then there also are bonds. Bonds are loans that are made to you, okay? All right. And they're made within a category, like the Dow Jones Industrial Average as an example, S&P 500, NASDAQ, on and on. There's so many of these bundles. And they can be prorated, estimated when I look at my Fidelity account for when I think my end date is. So am I going to access these funds in 2030, 2050? And based on that, it assigns a risk, and whether you want to go for stable companies or upstart companies that you think that you could risk losing, but you could also risk making more money. All right, so that's what a mutual fund is, and it's thousands of companies, right? So versus investing in just one company, I'll never forget, again, monitoring your parents' stuff. I'll never forget accessing my mom's account, okay, and looking at a money manager, and she was 90 years of age, okay. And this money manager had her invested in 70 individual stocks. All it takes is for that company to go belly up and the money was gone, versus maybe investing in 20 mutual funds where the risk is spread across thousands of companies, okay? All righty. That's what that's all about. And this explains, the differences between a mutual fund and what's called an exchange traded fund, which is just like a mutual fund, but it gives you a little more flexibility in terms of playing around, okay? And that's all that is. All right, so these are, again, the sources, and you're welcome to go in there and check that out, okay? All righty. I'm probably not going to be able to close this down. Okay, all right. Good. Yay! Okay, so that's it. I look forward to what's going on here with your discussions. I think this is a really, really important lecture. Sit down and talk to your parents about financial planning and your grandparents, and really, talk to your friends. All right, you guys can form companies, because you know what? You don't want to get lost in terms of your financial future. Okay. All right. On that note, we'll see you next time. I'm actually going to send this one to you guys because I think it's really important for you guys to understand.